Mike had always thought of himself as being on top of things, but little did he know, his fall was closer than he expected. He was his usual self, carefree, irresponsible, and doing his best to charm the most attractive woman around. However, this time the results would be far from what he was accustomed to. The outcome of his actions would depend entirely on how he responded to the unexpected turn of events. Mike had a knack for upsetting the wrong people, too many, in fact. At 25, he was good-looking, carefree, and a lover of short flings. His motto was simple: get what he wanted from a woman, then leave without any attachments. No commitments, no complications, just a night of fun. But he had no idea that when the consequences caught up to him, he'd be completely blindsided. To support his lifestyle, Mike had secured an easy job through a family connection, working for his friend's father. He had mastered the art of doing just enough to seem productive while avoiding actual work. He knew that the job wouldn't last forever, maybe a year at most, before his laziness caught up with him. But that didn't worry him, he had too much fun to be concerned about the future just yet. However, that day, a small problem arose. His friend had called earlier to tell him that his father wanted to see him first thing Monday morning. It didn't sound good, but Mike was confident he could talk his way out of it. What irritated him most was the early 8 a.m. meeting. He rarely made it to work before 9. His mother had begun to worry about him. People had started making less than flattering comments about his actions, and while she was concerned, it was his younger sister Laura who had a clearer understanding of his lifestyle. She loved him but also feared the damage his behavior could cause their mother. Laura had occasionally tried to get through to him, but he ignored her advice, continuing down his reckless path. But things were about to change. His sister had recently met a wonderful guy who had proposed, and their wedding was just around the corner. The wedding rehearsal was only a few hours away, and the following day would be the elegant affair everyone had been preparing for. Mike, ever the opportunist, had already begun sizing up the bridesmaids. Since their father had passed away, Mike was the one walking his sister down the aisle. As preparations ramped up, he decided to go after the maid of honor, his sister's best friend, who he thought was the most attractive. He kept his options open in case she wasn't receptive, but his sights were firmly set on her. What Mike didn't know was that his sister's best friend wasn't just a pretty face, she was also a witch. She had the ability to use spells, though she preferred to keep it subtle and only used them when necessary. As rehearsal time approached, Mike, still not fully aware of the situation, decided to make his move. He spotted her alone in his sister's bedroom, seemingly by herself. He assumed his sister and their mother were elsewhere, leaving the door open for him to try his usual tricks. But this time, Mike's confidence would be his downfall. He had never anticipated that his target would have the ability to turn the tables in a way he never saw coming. "Hey there, you look stunning," Mike said, standing in the doorway, admiring the young woman in the room. "Oh, hey, Mike. How's it going? Ready for the rehearsal?" Carly greeted, curious about his intentions as she stood in her maid of honor dress. "Definitely, but if you're wearing that, you'll have every guy in the room after you," he said, walking into the room. She chuckled, but kept her distance. "No, Laura and I are just doing one last fitting for the dresses before tomorrow. We'll change back long before the rehearsal." "That's a shame, but I bet you'll still be just as stunning," he responded, trying to keep the charm flowing. Carly recognized the compliment, but she was also well aware of Mike's reputation. She had seen the consequences of his actions firsthand. One of her friends had been used and discarded by him, something Mike had clearly forgotten. He continued, trying to charm her into going out with him, first after the rehearsal dinner, and then after the reception if she wasn't interested immediately. Carly wasn't interested in falling for his usual lines. She had heard it all before. As he persisted, her patience began to wear thin, especially when he said, "You can trust me, I'm only thinking of you." She had heard him use that same line on others, and she was done. "Okay, enough," she said, a touch of frustration in her voice, as she cast a spell to freeze him in place. At that moment, Laura walked in, wearing her wedding dress without the veil or train. She stopped, noticing Mike standing completely still. It was clear that the two were related. Laura shared some features with her brother, though she had light brown hair and was considered quite pretty by most. "Carly, what did you do to Mike?" Laura asked, more resigned than surprised. She had known Carly for years and was well aware of her magical abilities. "I'm sorry, Laura, but he was being his usual self," Carly said. "I just had enough. I'll let him go in a minute. I know you need him to walk you down the aisle, but that doesn't mean he gets to hit on every girl in the bridal party." Laura paused for a moment, considering. "I understand, he can be a bit much." Carly nodded and started to prepare to release the spell, but Laura continued. "Honestly, I've been wanting Uncle Stan to walk me down the aisle. He's been more like a father to me since Dad passed. But with Mike, I knew it was expected for him to do it. Mom likes Uncle Stan, but she wants Mike to do it." She took a breath before adding, "Plus, I didn't see any way around having Mike in the wedding without giving me away. Michael had all his friends filling up the groomsmen and usher slots, and I didn't think anyone would be happy if Mike was just an usher, except for me." She sighed, clearly frustrated. Carly thought about it for a moment before a sly grin spread across her face. "Laura, remember when you mentioned wanting a junior bridesmaid but not having any younger relatives? Well, maybe you can have both. You can keep Mike in the wedding and still have Uncle Stan walk you down the aisle." "How could that work? What are you?" "Wait, don't tell me," Laura said, exhaling as she suspected Carly had a magical solution in mind. Carly just smiled knowingly. "Simple. I can turn Mike into a compliant 11-year-old girl, Emily, your little sister, and she can be part of the wedding party. That way, your Uncle Stan can walk you down the aisle, and both you and Mom get what you want. And in a way, Mike will still be in the wedding." Laura hesitated, unsure. "I told you not to tell me, but I don't know, it sounds interesting. Can you really do that?" Carly nodded, clearly confident. "Absolutely. It'll take some work, but it's not too hard. Do you want me to make it happen?" Laura took a moment to think, eyeing her brother thoughtfully. Let me process this. So, what exactly will happen to Mike before and after the wedding?" "Well, Emily will stay in her new form through the ceremony and the reception. Then, late tomorrow night, after everything winds down, I'll change her back to Mike," Carly explained. "What about everyone else? Won't there be gossip and questions? And my mom, she'll definitely make a fuss. I've got that covered. When I change Mike into an 11-year-old, only the three of us will know what really happened. Everyone else will see her and accept her as she is." "Even Mom?" "Yes, even Mom." "Do you have to be there to change him back, or can it just happen naturally?" "I could let it happen on its own, but if he's not in the right setting, it could be a problem. It's better if I explain everything and handle it myself. But I'm not going anywhere for the next few days, so everything should be fine." "I guess that works." "Oh, wait, one more thing, who will she walk down the aisle with? Isn't Michael's younger brother, Ben, an usher? He's a little older than Emily's new age, but still in the same range. We can make him a groomsman." "Michael will probably be happy with that," Carly said, then paused. "I could even make Emily a bit older if needed." Laura thought about it. "No, I think 11 is perfect. I don't want her to be at that age where boys start chasing her around. But this could actually work. I get to have my Uncle Stan walk me down the aisle without causing any problems, and Michael will be happy too." Carly added, "And Mike won't be hitting on all the bridesmaids or causing trouble at the reception." Laura smiled widely. "Exactly. I knew that would be a problem, especially with Mom, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. But now I see you have the perfect solution. I'm so lucky to have a friend who can fix these little issues." Carly grinned back, feeling pleased with herself. "I'm happy to help. You deserve a flawless day, with no stress or disruptions." So you can make it all happen without anyone suspecting anything? Yes, I'll cast a spell to make Emily believe she's always been 11, but still know she's Mike. Everyone will accept her as your little sister, and when the time comes, I'll change her back. If that's what you want, of course. Laura looked thoughtful. That sounds perfect. I really appreciate all this, Carly. And I'll have the photos to remember this day forever. Wait! Won't the photos give it away? They could, but I'll cast a side spell to make sure everyone who looks at them just accepts things as they are, no questions asked. And nothing bad will happen to Mike, right? Carly looked at her thoughtfully before answering. Here's the thing about spells like this. I can change Mike into Emily, but I can't keep her that way unless she wants to stay that way. If Mike, or Emily, decides she prefers being an 11-year-old, then I can't change her back unless she wants it. If she's unsure, though, things could get tricky. Laura rolled her eyes and let out a small laugh. Oh, I'm sure he'll want to go back to his usual self. But how much will he know when you change him? He'll still be himself inside, but he'll feel a conflict, like an 11-year-old girl trying to act her age. It should keep him occupied for the next day or so. He'll remember everything, but no one else will. If we don't tell anyone, he'll either keep it to himself or people will think he's lost his mind. Oh, and if she gets hurt, the pain will be real, just like if Mike had been hurt. That sounds fine to me. As long as no one gets hurt by the spell itself, I'm in. You do your magic, and I'll deal with the rest. I've trained you well. Magic isn't perfect, but this spell has never hurt anyone. There have been some interesting side effects, though. I can imagine. But go ahead, quickly, or I might start having second thoughts. Okay, then, Carly said with a smile. Carly began chanting an intricate incantation, and Laura stepped back to watch. When Carly finished, a small flash flickered, and Mike, who had been frozen, was now transformed into an 11-year-old girl. She wore a cute junior bridesmaid dress similar to the ones the older girls would be wearing, with a hint of a budding chest and a junior bra. Where was I? Wait, what happened? How did I? Who did, what? The newly transformed Emily exclaimed, her confusion mounting as she realized something had drastically changed. She glanced down at herself and, in panic, began looking around the room. Her eyes widened as she stared at her new reflection in the mirror, a growing look of shock mixed with almost a sense of panic in her voice. Both Laura and Carly exchanged a surprised look, trying to act like they fully accepted the new situation, but keeping their smiles in check. A few moments later, Mike's mother entered the room, taking in the sight of her two daughters. Emily, still stunned, stood frozen in front of the mirror. Here are my two beautiful daughters, Laura and Emily. Don't you both look lovely? Their mother said. But Mom. Emily tried to speak, her voice now high-pitched, as she turned this way and that, unable to stop staring at her new body in the mirror. She picked up the skirt of her dress to inspect her legs, feet, and the entirety of her transformed body. The sound of her new voice caught her off guard as she attempted to speak again. Her mother, oblivious to Emily's distress, continued, cutting her off as she had often done when Mike was still a boy. Now, young lady, you know this is the dress we picked out for you. You agreed to it. And you look absolutely adorable in it. A perfect fit for an 11-year-old. I don't want to hear any complaints, do you hear? This is your sister's big day, and you'll behave accordingly. Emily was now in total shock, staring at the reflection of an 11-year-old girl in the mirror, brown hair tied into two pigtails with pink ribbons, dimples in her cheeks, big brown eyes, thick lashes, and a cupid's bow mouth. An 11-year-old girl. What had happened? This can't be. This isn't right. What's going on? Emily exclaimed, her voice filled with disbelief as she continued inspecting herself. She noticed her small chest, the thin-strapped, frilly dress in light pink and blue, the flower at the back, white stockings, and black Mary Jane shoes on her feet. This just can't be. What happened to me? And my voice? Her mother placed her hands gently on Emily's shoulders, trying to calm her down. Emily, you know what's happening. We've talked about this enough. You're just trying on the junior bridesmaid dress we picked out. You said you liked it, and now you'll stop complaining and act your age. You should be excited your sister wants you as a bridesmaid. You look so adorable. Right, Laura? Emily felt her mother's strong hands on her shoulders. She was surprised by how much stronger her mother felt compared to her now. She took a deep breath, realizing that getting upset wouldn't help, and that they probably weren't going to understand what had really happened. She decided to keep quiet and try to figure it out herself as the two older women continued their conversation. Laura winked at Carly. That's right, Mom. Emily looks absolutely precious, the perfect junior bridesmaid. And just think, Ben, that dreamy guy, is a junior groomsman and will be walking you down the aisle. But... Emily tried to interject. She remembered seeing Ben a few times and had always thought of him as a lecherous boy, similar to how she had seen herself at that age. The idea of a boy walking her down the aisle felt strange. But maybe it made sense now that she was really a girl. No buts, young lady, her mother interrupted. You mind your manners. We've put a lot of effort into this wedding, and this is your sister's special day. We won't let anything spoil it. That dress looks adorable on you, makes you look more mature than your 11 years. But don't you dare get it dirty or wrinkled. As soon as your sister says so, you'll change back, and we can start the rehearsal and get ready for dinner. Emily could hardly believe what was happening. An 11-year-old girl instead of a 25-year-old man. What was she supposed to do? She was now Emily, a preteen girl, no longer the confident Mike she once was. She was shorter, with less muscle than the body she had spent so long developing. That realization stung the most. What was she supposed to do now? Nothing seemed like the right choice. Making waves now probably wasn't the best idea. It was better to take a step back, process what was happening, and figure out how to handle this situation, or at least understand it. So many what-ifs. For now, it seemed best to just go along with things. Okay, Mom, Emily sighed. Just tell me what to do. Wasn't that something Mike used to say when he realized Mom would get her way? Before he got old enough to talk back? What was that phrase? Deja vu? That's my good girl. Soon, you'll be the one walking down the aisle in your own beautiful white dress. This is a good experience for you. Now, give your mother a big hug. Before Emily could react, her mother wrapped her in a tight hug. Not wanting to cause a scene, Emily hugged her back, feeling how much smaller she was now compared to her mother. She remembered how much her mom loved giving hugs, something Mike had stopped accepting when he was in his early teens. I love you, my darling daughter, just as much as I love your older sister. I love you too, Mom, Emily replied, realizing how comforting the hug felt. She hadn't realized how much she missed this, how much she missed saying it. Her mother pulled back, smiling. As lovely as you look in that dress, I think we should add a little something to complete the look. Let's try some makeup, just enough to highlight your features, but not too much. Carly spoke up. I can help with that, Mrs. Geller. Laura smiled at her friend. That would be great, Carly. But like Mom said, don't overdo it. We don't want Sis here looking too flashy. Do I have to? Emily whined a little, then jumped in surprise at her own words. It just came out, but she also realized part of her really did want it. Yes, you have to, her mother insisted. You've been talking about wanting to wear makeup for days now. What's gotten into you? Laura quickly intervened. Oh, Mom, it's just the excitement of the wedding. Young girls like Emily here have a lot on their minds. You remember how I was? Her mother gave Laura a nostalgic hug, which Laura gratefully returned. Yes, I remember, dear. Boys, friends, school, then cars and dating. Where does the time go? Oh, don't be sad that I'm leaving the nest, please? Laura teased. Her mother sighed. I'll try not to be sad, well, maybe a little. But I'm happy for you. You're marrying a wonderful man, and I know your future will be bright. It's just that. She glanced at Emily, who was making faces as Carly applied lip gloss, eyeliner, eyeshadow, blush, a hint of mascara, and eyebrow pencil. With Carly's gentle encouragement, Emily slowly relaxed and allowed Carly to finish. Mrs. Geller smiled at Emily. I still have your sister to go through all this with. I should feel blessed. She can be a handful, but I'm so lucky to have two beautiful daughters. I wouldn't trade either of you for anything. I just wish your father could be here to see how wonderful you both are turning out. Laura and Carly exchanged surprised glances, sensing something deeper in Mrs. Geller's words. Emily picked up on it too. Mike had fought with his mom over the years, and while she realized she couldn't change much of that, she felt a bit guilty now. She actually loved her mother. She had been there for everything with Mike, even though he had sometimes pushed her away in an attempt to get even. Now Emily was thinking, it wasn't getting even, it was just hurtful. Carly noticed how quiet Emily had become. There we go! Now, let's add a little light pink nail polish, and you'll look absolutely radiant. While I do this, I'll explain how to remove your makeup before bed, which you should definitely do. But you'll help me put more on tomorrow? Emily asked, surprising herself. She was caught in a bit of internal conflict, part of her wanted it, but another part didn't. What was happening? Of course, sweetie. This is just a test run. Tomorrow is when we really go all out. Emily sat quietly, watching Carly as she painted her nails. It was all so new, girls fussing over her, the sensation of clothes on her body, her long hair, the feel of her thin arms, her mother's attention, and the comforting hugs. And no one seemed to notice that instead of a 25-year-old man, she was now an 11-year-old girl. She couldn't quite make sense of it. Was this some kind of alternate reality? Everything seemed the same, everyone was as they always had been, but why was she now a young girl? Why didn't she fight back the way Mike would have for much less? And why, despite everything, was this somehow enjoyable? That was the most troubling yet strangely satisfying thought. As Carly continued applying the nail polish, a soft pink that was noticeable yet subtle, Emily couldn't help but notice how much better her fingers looked with it. She briefly entertained the idea of asking her mom to let her polish her toenails too. That would be fun, right? No, wait, why was she even thinking that? But Carly was making everything seem so normal, so maybe it wasn't such a bad idea. Carly continued, You're going to be the belle of the ball, Emily. You'll look so pretty. No doubt you'll be breaking hearts as you grow up. I already feel sorry for the guys you'll leave in your wake. Laura gave Carly a playful but stern look. Just do her nails, Carly. No need to fill her head with too many ideas. Emily watched Carly carefully and thought, who is she, really? Wasn't she Mike, the one who tried to charm Carly just a little while ago? She had to admit, Carly was beautiful, who wouldn't want to take her out? Was she single? Laura had mentioned a boyfriend, one who was out of town today but would be at the wedding tomorrow. Emily felt a strange sense of relief that Mike hadn't used his usual charm. But what did her boyfriend look like? Probably very handsome, given how pretty Carly was. Ben was decent looking, she supposed, though a little irritating at times, he was a kid brother after all. Michael was handsome, too, and Emily could see why Laura liked him. He'd make any girl happy. Even her, if she was older? Wait, was she even thinking that? Oh, this was all so confusing. But she liked Carly doing her nails. Carly seemed really nice. Laura whispered something into her mom's ear, which Emily didn't catch. Then Laura said, Mom and I will be right back, we need to check on something. Carly, are you almost done? Yes, just a little more. A few more minutes, Carly replied, as Laura and Mrs. Geller left the room. Hey, Carly? Emily asked, looking up into Carly's bright blue eyes after they had left. Yes, hon. Could you, do my toes too? Please? Carly looked into Emily's big brown eyes and smiled. Of course, sweetie. But let's be quick before they come back. Just a little dab on each nail, okay? Aha, Emily whispered, smiling back in a conspiratorial way. Okay, your fingernails are still wet, so let me take off your shoes and stockings. Thanks. All right, now sit back and put your feet up here so your nails can dry. Don't touch anything. Okay, Emily said, sitting back down, holding her hands out and putting her feet up as Carly removed her shoes and stockings. For a moment, she wondered why she was doing this, but everything felt so natural now, and Carly's instructions made sense. Deep down, she realized that she really did want her toenails polished. Carly, a bit taken aback by how quickly Emily had adjusted to her new persona, worked quickly. Emily was embracing the role of an 11-year-old much faster than she had expected. Carly wondered how she would be later that evening and the next day, but for now, there was no time to think about it. She swiftly applied the polish to each of Emily's toenails, adding a little more to the big toes. They now looked polished and pretty. You're looking so pretty, Carly said, admiring her work. Emily glanced at Carly before looking down at herself. No, you're the pretty one, Carly. Even a little prettier than Laura, she said with a sigh. Thank you, but your sister is beautiful too, Carly replied, noticing the sigh. What's on your mind? It's just that, well, I'm not pretty. I'm just a kid. Not grown up like you. Well, I'd say you're looking more and more like a very attractive young woman. If I didn't know better, I'd guess you were 2 or 3 years older than your actual age. Even without. Emily glanced down at her mostly flat chest, just showing the faintest hint of development. Carly smiled, thinking for a moment before answering. Look at your sister and your mom. You've got their genes, that's what you'll probably grow into. From the photos I've seen, you might even end up more beautiful than Laura was when she was 11. Emily paused, thinking it over. Both Laura and their mother had nice figures, maybe that would happen for her too. Maybe she would grow into a nice body. The thought startled her. What is going on with me? Why am I thinking like this? Carly's voice interrupted her thoughts. Let me blow on these, and you fan the others so we can get them dry quickly and get you back together. Okay, Emily replied, trying to push aside her earlier thoughts. She picked up some paper to fan her toes while Carly blew gently on the others. Emily giggled when Carly's breath tickled her feet. That's ticklish, she said, surprised by how much fun it felt. She realized that, despite the confusion, she was actually enjoying herself and that being with Carly was fun. There we go, now don't you look pretty? Carly said as she carefully put Emily's white stockings and shoes back on. Let's get you in front of the mirror. Emily stood before the mirror, checking herself out, turning this way and that, lifting her hands to show off her nails. She continued to examine her reflection, wondering why she was doing this. But then, as she thought about how it felt when she had asked Carly to do her nails and Carly had responded so positively, she realized she liked it. She also liked how Carly had been so helpful with everything, removing her shoes, the little touches that felt kind and close. She felt a sense of connection with Carly, who was around her sister's age but seemed to really understand her. Emily studied herself again and decided that maybe Carly was right, she did look a little pretty. Maybe even as pretty as Laura had been at this age. Emily's thoughts drifted. Did Laura attract boys when she was 11? She surely did when she was older. They probably started noticing her in middle school. Oh wait, I'm 11. That means I'm going to middle school this fall. No, that can't be right. I've already been through middle school, hanging out with friends and avoiding homework. But this girl in the mirror, she's going to middle school soon. And she's me. But I know most of the answers. This could be a lot of fun. It's been a while, but most of the teachers are still there. I know how they grade. She looked up at Carly, who was smiling behind her. Thank you, Carly. I guess I do look pretty. Maybe just a little. Emily, you're beautiful. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I won't, Emily said, hesitating before turning around to look at Carly with a shy smile. Come here, it's all right, Carly said, pulling her into a small hug. Emily wondered why she was hugging Carly. That was the second time she had hugged another girl, just because it felt right. It was all so confusing, but she did like Carly. She was being really nice to her, and that made Emily feel good. Just then, Laura and their mom came back into the room. Emily and Carly broke apart, and Emily turned back to the mirror, this time smiling as she twirled and admired herself. Her mother noticed the hug and Emily's focus on the mirror, letting out a contented sigh. She walked up behind Emily and looked at her and her reflection, sighing again, relieved that her daughter seemed more relaxed and happy. Thank you, Carly, Mrs. Geller said. You've done a lovely job with Emily. Exactly what I was hoping for, not too much, but just enough. And now I've got one more surprise for you, Emily, since you've been so good through all of this. Emily looked up at her mother expectantly, as Laura smiled off to the side. I was saving this for your 12th birthday, but your sister convinced me to let you start today. To Emily's surprise, her mother handed her a small box. Eagerly, she opened it, revealing a pair of small, simple gold hoop earrings. It hit her then, she was about to get her ears pierced for the first time. Oh, they're so pretty. Can I put them on? How do I do it? Can I wear them at the wedding? She was surprised at how excited she sounded, but why not? The earrings looked lovely, and her mom was doing something special for her. This is too confusing to think about. I'll just go with it for now, she thought. I'll worry about it later when things aren't so hectic. Yes, you can wear them to the wedding, her mother replied. These are special earrings for a girl's first piercings. They came with a kit, complete with a needle, numbing gel, and everything we need to do it all at once. You'll need to clean the holes to avoid infection, and use this alcohol to keep them nice and clean. They'll stay in for a while. Laura looked at Carly and said, I don't think that should be a problem, do you? Carly smiled slightly and responded, No, I wouldn't think so. Lots of people, both young women and men, have pierced ears. Emily barely heard her, as she was already back in front of the mirror, holding the earrings up to her ears, admiring how nice they looked. Mrs. Geller said, I'll leave you 3 to finish up. Make sure to clean up when you're done, and don't take too long changing back. The rehearsal starts soon. She left the room, leaving the 2 young women and Emily, who had stopped looking at herself and was now deep in thought, or what counted as thought for a young girl, before she turned her attention to Laura. Laura? Yes, sis? Well, I guess, we have an older brother? Laura and Carly exchanged a brief glance that Emily didn't notice before Laura chuckled lightly and answered, An older brother? No, not around here. Why do you ask? Well, it's like... Emily trailed off, her embarrassment now growing. With a confused expression, Emily finally said, Oh, that's silly, I guess. I'm sorry. Sweetie, never apologize for asking questions, Laura reassured her. I think Mom once said she would have liked a son, but she has us too, and I think that's pretty good. Don't you? Emily sighed and glanced out the window. Yes, I guess, it's okay. Her mind started to wander. Maybe if she looked out the window, she'd see her car, or maybe she could call Dawn, Mike's old friend who had gotten him the job. What would they think of an 11-year-old girl showing up for work? Of course, she wouldn't. Not as Emily. That would be silly. Laura spoke again. Let's get your earlobes numbed so we can do this. Carly, can you help? The process took a little time, and Emily did feel some pain, but soon enough, the holes were made and the earrings were in place. With the makeup, earrings, and dress, Emily felt different, maybe older, but not as old as she thought she used to be. The thought made her uneasy. Maybe being a young girl was her reality now, and the idea of being an older guy was just a silly dream. But that couldn't be right. She'd look outside, or maybe call Dawn. Someone had to remember Mike. No, wait, she'd go to her old bedroom. This used to be Laura's room before she went to college and moved in with Michael. Surely, in Mike's old bedroom, the one his mother called a shrine, Emily would find a trace of her former self. As she stood there, lost in thought, she realized she liked the earrings, the makeup, and the attention from her sister and especially Carly. It felt good to be fussed over. Okay, Emily, time to change into your rehearsal dress, Laura said, holding up a white sundress with bluish flowers and a black belt. Oh, okay, Emily said, taking the dress and holding it up to herself in the mirror. And these sandals go with it, Laura added. The sandals were nicer, with cork wedge soles that rose about an inch at the heel. Laura and Carly, like most young women their age, were planning to wear clubbing dresses with heels 3 inches or higher. Now, carefully take off your bridesmaid dress and hang it up. We'll leave the dresses in here for tomorrow, so the bridesmaids can change together. Come on, sis, it's getting late. Let's get you out of that dress and into this one. Carly chimed in. Laura, I'll help you get your dress off if Emily helps me. Then I'll help you a little. Sound good? Sure, sounds good, Laura replied. Okay, said Emily, now a little unsure of how everything was going to unfold, especially since the 3 of them were about to change clothes together. Carly found the zipper and snaps on Laura's dress, carefully undoing them and helping her step out, making sure the dress stayed wrinkle-free. As Laura hung it up and put the protective cover back on, Carly turned to Emily and showed her where the fasteners were on her dress. Emily fumbled for a moment but finally managed to undo them, trying to stay calm and not get too nervous about what was happening. Carly carefully hung up Emily's dress and then turned to help her with the next step, while Emily tried not to stare at the 2 young women, now in panties and strapless bras. There you go, sweetie. Now just slip on the dress and those sandals, and you'll be all ready. Emily held up the dress and then realized she needed to remove her junior bra. She set the dress down, and Carly noticed immediately. Here, let me unhook this for you, Carly said, referring to the bra. Looks like the dress has built-in cups, so it should fit you really well. Emily had started to feel embarrassed but, turning her back to Carly, quickly slipped into the dress. She felt a wave of relief. Carly noticed but simply smiled, not saying anything more. Laura, busy with her own preparations, didn't pay much attention. Emily took off her shoes and stockings and put on the sandals, feeling ready. But Carly looked at her and said, "How about we brush out your pigtails and make your hair look as nice as the rest of you?" "Of course, only if you want to." Laura glanced over and added, "Good idea. The pigtails and the dress kind of clash a bit." "Okay, and thank you," Emily responded, grateful that someone was paying attention. "We'll give you some bangs and a little part here, and smooth out those curls a bit." "There we go. Now, close your eyes, I'm going to put a little spray on to hold it in place." Emily did as she was told, and in a few moments, they were heading downstairs to where Mrs. Geller was waiting. "Don't the 3 of you look beautiful?" Mrs. Geller sighed when she saw them. "But..." "What, Mom? Is there a problem?" Laura asked. "Well, your sister. I'm not so sure now. She looks a little older than I think is proper. She's big for her age, like you were, and now with her hair, dress, earrings, makeup, and shoes, she might be mistaken for a much older girl," Mrs. Geller said, a somewhat critical look in her eyes. Emily began to worry that she'd have to change again and was surprised her mother hadn't noticed the toenail polish yet, so she kept quiet. I think it's fine, Mom, Laura said. It's just for tonight, and you know she'll have her hair done again tomorrow for the wedding. We're only with family and close friends tonight. I'm sure it will be fine. She's been so good about it. Let her do it this once. Mrs. Geller sighed but relented. I suppose, for tonight and the wedding since it's a special moment. But on Sunday, she'll go back to looking like an 11-year-old. Emily piped up, well, I'm almost 12. She quickly thought about adding 26, but decided against it. December is still a long way off, dear. You're 11, and be happy with that. Tonight and tomorrow, that's all. Emily smiled and gave her mother a small hug. Thanks, Mom. She felt relieved that her mother still remembered when her birthday was. At least something hadn't changed. Laura also smiled. Thanks. They all went on, happy and ready for the evening. Soon, everyone arrived at the church for the wedding ceremony. The minister, the wedding coordinator, and Mrs. Geller directed everyone to their proper places, with Laura taking the final say. She explained the order of the processional and some of the ceremony highlights. The groomsman, best man, and Michael would enter from a side door, followed by the bridesmaids, the maid of honor, and then Laura, escorted by her uncle. As the rehearsal began, Emily realized she was actually getting excited about being part of the wedding. Though she was still confused about why she was a young girl in the wedding party instead of walking her sister down the aisle, she couldn't help but admire how happy and calm Laura and Uncle Stan looked together. Mrs. Geller beamed with pride as she watched her children and brother so involved in the day. When it was time to run through the recessional, Emily was paired with Ben, Michael's brother. She had noticed him during practice and, after a few moments of thought, realized she found him sort of good-looking. As he smiled at her and she took his arm, her heart fluttered for a moment, which made her wonder what that meant. After all, he was just a boy, right? She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. Hi, you must be Emily. I think I remember you from a family party a while ago, but you look really nice now, very pretty. I don't think we were introduced then. I'm Ben. Hi, Ben, she smiled back, quickly looking down, confused about why she was acting this way. He kept smiling. Looks like it's going to be a really nice wedding. Great way to kick off the summer. I had a girlfriend this past year, but she broke up with me because she's going to some fancy school. Do you have a boyfriend? Someone as cute as you must. No. Not right now, Emily replied, glancing up at him again, flattered by his compliments and trying to think of something cool to say so he wouldn't think she was just a little girl. She also thought about what he said about not having a girlfriend. That was interesting. Oh, well, that'll change quickly when high school starts again, Ben said with a grin. Oh, I hope, Emily replied, feeling tongue-tied and unsure, not wanting to correct his assumption about her real age. She was now thinking that Ben was definitely more handsome than she remembered from that family gathering when she was, well, someone much older. Or was that a dream? She wasn't sure anymore. I heard the place we're having dinner at has a dance band. Maybe we could practice a little, so we don't look out of place at the reception? I think that would be really nice. Thank you, Emily smiled, liking him more with every passing moment. She wondered what some people had against him. He seemed polite, considerate, and friendly, and she liked how he was treating her. At dinner, Emily found herself seated between Ben and Allison, a 13-year-old, wealthy, snotty girl from one of the groom's close family friends. Ben seemed to know Allison a little. Allison, in turn, treated Emily like she was from a lower social class, but since Emily seemed to acknowledge Allison's status, Allison grudgingly accepted her as an acceptable acquaintance for now. Emily barely spoke, listening to Allison drone on about herself, while Ben kept the conversation more pleasant. After dinner, when things quieted down, the band began to play in the next room. To Emily's surprise, Ben asked Allison to dance, and she accepted eagerly, giving Emily a smirk as she stood up. Emily felt a little hurt and probably a touch of jealousy, wondering why Ben would go off with Allison after talking about dancing with her earlier. They didn't return after the next song, and Emily felt more upset, starting to think maybe the rumors about Ben were true, that he could be a problem. But after 10 or 15 minutes, Ben came back alone, smiling at Emily. "So, would you like to dance?" Emily paused, still feeling a little hurt but quickly shaking off her doubts. "Sure." Where's Allison?" "Oh, she had to go to the restroom. She'll be back soon." "Come on," Ben said, gently taking her hand and leading her toward the dance floor. Despite still feeling a little shy, Emily kind of liked the way he led her, as he explained, "Just so you know, I asked Allison first because she's a family friend, and I felt like I had to, so my parents wouldn't make a big deal out of it. But mostly," he smiled at Emily, "I wanted to practice a little, because I'm sure you know how to dance, and I didn't want to look foolish out there with you." I'm not sure I'm that good," Emily replied, feeling reassured by his answer and completely forgetting her earlier doubts. As they walked toward the dance floor, Allison reappeared. Emily smiled at her and said, "Hi, Allison," but Allison didn't acknowledge her, instead looking sullen. Emily wasn't sure what that meant but shrugged it off as she and Ben made their way to the dance floor. They danced, staying within view of the tables, and the adults around them commented on how cute they looked together, joking that there could be another wedding between the two families. Emily felt self-conscious at first, but since she had always liked dancing, she started to enjoy it as they continued. After the first song, as people stopped paying attention, Ben skillfully maneuvered them into the crowd. Halfway through the next song, he pulled Emily off the dance floor and led her outside to a quiet patio area. "I hope you don't mind," Ben said. "I thought we could come out here for a few moments, enjoy the stars and all, and maybe get to know each other better, because you're really pretty." "Oh, thank you." It was getting a little noisy and crowded in there. "This is nice," Emily replied. Ben was still holding her hand, and she didn't mind at all. The night was pleasant, the stars were bright, and there was a small crescent moon hanging above the horizon. "Yeah, it is nice," Ben agreed, looking at her. "And you're really a nice girl, I can tell. Just like my brother thinks your sister is really nice." Emily blushed slightly at the compliment and struggled to come up with something to say, but only managed a quiet, "Oh. You know, I don't have a girlfriend right now. Would you like to be my girlfriend? You're so nice." Now Emily's blush deepened as she stammered, I don't know, I mean, I like you and all, but..." "We could try it for the summer," Ben suggested. "I know we go to different schools and don't live close, but I'm not that far away. We could go to a movie or check out some local carnivals, see if we like it. What do you say?" "I'd really like it." Emily felt a slight tremor, hoping Ben wouldn't notice. He was handsome, seemed very nice, and was her sister's soon-to-be brother-in-law's younger brother. That sounded okay. Going to places with a boyfriend? That seemed cool. "Say you will, please?" Ben asked, his voice sounding so sincere, almost adorable. "Oh, okay," Emily smiled softly, giving in despite the nervousness she felt. She couldn't see any real problem with it. She probably wouldn't see him that much. Talking to him on the phone sounded fun, and the idea of having a boyfriend seemed exciting. He beamed and said, "Wow, thank you. That's great." Then, to Emily's surprise, he leaned over and kissed her on the lips. Her first boy-girl kiss. The shock quickly melted away, and she found the experience thrilling, perhaps the most unexpected feeling she had since seeing herself in the mirror earlier. "Oh," was all she could say, stunned. "Did you like it?" Ben asked with a playful grin, his eyes twinkling. Emily, still processing the kiss, smiled shyly and nodded, "Yes." "I thought so," Ben said, turning towards her. "That's why I wanted you to be my girlfriend. I think you're a very special girl, and I like you a lot." I like you, too," Emily replied, blushing. "Hey, my brother's friend's van is parked over there," Ben pointed to the side lot. "It's really cool, I'd like you to see it. Michael, Dan, and I have had some great times in it. Okay, I guess, Emily replied, still processing everything, as Ben took her hand, not letting go. When they reached the van, Emily saw that it was a custom small van. Ben unlocked the side door, revealing its luxuriously furnished interior, complete with a couch, chairs, a wet bar, and a small fridge. Emily was impressed, especially with the fact that Ben had a key. Come on, let's get in. It's fine, we can just sit and talk. He smiled as he helped her into the van. Here, hold on, I'll pull you up. Once inside, they sat on the plush couch, surrounded by pillows. See? It's really nice in here, isn't it? Ben asked. Aha, Emily responded, still a little overwhelmed by the situation. Ben began talking about himself, recounting some adventures, perhaps embellishing a little to impress Emily. She wondered if he was making some of it up, but she had no way of knowing for sure. After a while, he asked, would you like something to drink? A cola or fruit juice? They're all bubbly, but they taste really good. Sure, fruit juice, I guess. Thanks. Ben jumped up, grabbed 2 bottles from the fridge, and poured the drinks into cups. Emily couldn't see what they were, but assumed they were fruity drinks. Here you go, Ben said, handing her one of the cups. She took a sip. It is bubbly, she noted. Like I said, but really good, right? He said, smiling. She took another sip. The taste was unusual but pleasant. Yeah, it is. All right, here's my toast, Ben said. To your sister and my brother, may they have a wonderful wedding and life together. They both took a drink. Ben then asked, now it's your turn. Emily giggled a little. I've got to be careful, or I'll get the hiccups. Go ahead, make one. Okay, may all couples, whether in love or just friends, have good times together. That's a good one, Ben said, and they both finished their drinks. He refilled Emily's cup halfway. Emily was feeling more relaxed, enjoying the drink and the easy conversation. It was helping her forget her worries about returning to the others. Okay, one more from me, and then we finish our cups, Ben said. Before Emily could respond, he continued, to friendships, may they become more. As he made the toast, he moved his right arm to the back of the couch behind her. He raised his cup to his lips, motioning for her to do the same. They both finished their drinks. Ben took her cup and said, you know, I really like you, more than most other girls I've been friends with. You're nice, sweet, pretty, and smart. He shifted closer, resting his left arm gently on her thigh. Emily barely noticed, too focused on his friendly smile. She felt she should say something nice in return. I think you're nice too, Ben, she said, a little flustered. You've done so many things, and all. Ben continued, dropping his right arm to her shoulder and gently cupping it. I really like you, Emily. It's so nice just sitting here with you, talking about things. Though, I'll bet you've been kissed by a lot of guys, huh? Emily blushed and muttered, no, not really. A pretty girl like you definitely deserves a kiss. And lots of them over time. Before she could respond, he leaned in and gently pulled her toward him. They kissed again, and this time, she returned it. As they embraced, Ben slowly began to move his hand up her dress. Emily pulled back slightly, saying, Ben, I'm not, I don't think. End of part 1. Part 2 is not safe for YouTube. Don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.